Alright, so it's the 9 o'clock news.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Jason. It's a beautiful July 20th here in New York. And we're here to celebrate Wisconsin being the 30th state of the U.S.
In other news, the Seneca Falls Convention has taken place yesterday in New York and is concluded today. It has been a very productive day for women.
Yes, it was. It was organized by Lucretia Mott, who is also a speaker. A background check of Mott revealed a lot of information. She was a Quaker, an abolitionist, and a reformer.
Yes, she was even a speaker at the World Anti-Slavery Conference in London, England. Also, she was the first president of the American Equal Rights Association.
What an amazing person. Now back to the Seneca Falls Convention. Another very influential person was Elizabeth Stanton.
Yes, she presented a Declaration of Sentiments. She too was an abolitionist, and she fought for women's suffrage, as well as many other things. She was a graduate of the Johnson Academy and knew what she was fighting for.
Before this convention, women couldn't vote, they couldn't own property, and they couldn't have jobs. Their main job was to stay at home and teach the women. That leaves a lot of room to fight at this convention.
Throughout the years that led up to 1848, some women were pushing for more rights along with support from some men, such as Charles Grandison Finney, who allowed women to pray alongside men in his ceremony.
Before the convention, New York State Assembly passed the Married Women's Property Act that gave women the right to retain property. Elizabeth Stanton opened the first day at 11 o'clock. She made a powerful remark on how each woman needs to take control of her own life. Miss Mott was next to speak.
Stanton read the Declaration of Sentiments fully and then read each paragraph and discussed them. Finally, the morning session ended at 2:30 p.m.
In the afternoon, another session took place again, in which the Declaration of Sentiments was reread and more changes were made. The afternoon session was finished by Elizabeth M. Clintock. On the night of the first day, Lucretia Mott read a speech that was open to all women. In this speech, she spoke of the women's struggle for civil rights and how men were necessary to help women gain equality.
The following day came where Mott opened and explained the previous day's accomplishments. Assemblyman Ansel Bascom discussed the Married Women's Property Act. The Declaration of Sentiments was then signed by 68 women and 32 men out of the total 300 participants.
At the afternoon session, some people actually did argue over the Declarations of Sentiments. James and Lucretia Mott were against some parts of the resolution, while Stanton defended it. Frederick Douglass was the only African American at the convention. He believed that the world would be a much better place if women were more accepted into political society. The session was ended by Miss Mott.
The evening session on day 2 started at 7:30. Thomas McClintock read what women were supposed to do for the men around the house. Mott later offered for a 12th resolution. Mary McClintock spoke, saying that women needed to be true to themselves and to God. A committee was then created to edit and process the convention's proceeds.
The arguments that the women made in attending the Seneca Falls Convention were summed up in the Declaration of Sentiments. The points they made were as follows.
Women weren't allowed to vote.
Women had to abide by laws in which they had no say.
Women did not have most basic rights that all men had.
Women had no right to property or money that they earned by working.
Women were only recognized by the government if they were single and their land was being taxed.
Most profitable jobs had been monopolized by men, leaving women without work.
Women had no way to obtain a higher education, with colleges only being open to men.
There was a moral double standard in society. Men could get away with a lot more than women could.
After listing these complaints, the women asked for all the rights that other United States citizens had. As a final statement, the women wished that the Seneca Falls Convention would be followed by many other women's rights conventions until they were granted their equal rights. Although these rights seem reasonable to us today, they were seen as absurd for women to have back then.
Biographer Elizabeth Griffith tells us about the shock.
Memorized them. They'd heard them every 4th of July since they were kids. So even the smallest change in that declaration is going to be startling to them.
We hold these truths to be self-evident.
Douglas's eloquence helped carry the day. The resolution supporting
Amazingly, these women shaped women's rights
women's
for today.
right to vote.
They led for a lot of freedom for
and the
women and
convention
changed a lot about
adjourned.
this history.
Also, the women who were at this convention regarded the Declaration of Sentiments as of the revolutionaries of 1776's Declaration of Independence.
Thank you for tuning in to the 9 o'clock news.
I'm Jake.
And I'm Jason.